All right. Once again, we are live for This Week in Dota 2. It's been a pretty darn good week, I would say. On the whole, good week,
Yep.
bad week?
It's been a crazy week. I actually just thought of something else that we might want to talk about if we have time. Broadcasting rights for Dota.
We can go as long as we want. It's our show.
We'll throw it on at the end then.
Okay. But TI7 qualifiers have been basically the entire week of Dota 2.
Yep.
There's been some extra news out there, but for all intents,
most of that news still connects with
the
qualifiers.
For all intents and purposes, it's been about people trying to get into TI7, and it's been pretty entertaining watching them try to. And as per usual, I'm Steve Rondina, Bleacher Report, MMA, and esports caster, streamer, etc. MTarget with me.
Indeed, as always.
Let's just jump into it. Well, not as always, because I actually did like 3 or 4 episodes before ever talking to you.
Oh, almost as always.
Yeah, as always for the last couple months, few months. But yeah, so may as well just go right into the straight up results. Who got in? I'll do a share screen real quick. And okay, you can see it?
Yes.
All right, so as we've discussed previously, 6 invited teams: OG, VP, EG, Liquid, Invictus, and Newbie are the invited teams. Qualifying teams. We had Team Secret and Planet Dog from out of nowhere, more or less, being the European teams. Team Empire won CIS. IG Vitality, LGD, Forever Young, and LGD Gaming are your Chinese qualifiers. Your Southeast Asia qualifiers are TNC, Fnatic, and Execration. Your North American qualifiers are Team NP and Digital Chaos, and your South American team is Infamous.
So I was very wrong when it comes to my predictions.
You were.
Well, I wasn't. So, because if we look at my exact thing, I'm not going to pull it up on air, but ones that will get me points were Team Secret and TNC Gaming. That's it.
Let's not jump into how we did in terms of our predictions yet. Let's just stay focused on the actual
results. Okay, my bad.
Okay. Europe. We were discussing it before we went on air. Looked pretty generally terrible. Team Secret was good, which they should have. Past that, it was just a shit show, basically.
Yeah. Team Secret won handily, and then it was really a battle of who doesn't lose. It was we saw so many games that got thrown away by everyone. Like, we're not just saying that, like, Mouse Sports threw at the end. No, like, Planet Dog was throwing games away. Mouse Sports, oh my god, Alliance was disgustingly bad. Everybody played like absolute crap.
Yeah, and these are good teams, generally speaking.
And that's the thing, is like, what happened?
Yeah, I don't know. But we, to be nice about it, we've seen Mouse Sports. They took second place at the Boston Major. They earned that. They beat good teams along the way. Danish Bears, ex Cloud9, ex Imperial, not the greatest team, but they are capable of hanging with those. They should be able to beat these kinds of guys pretty convincingly. And Planet Dog, they won second place. So there's something there. But yeah, just in general, it was sloppy.
It was very sloppy.
That would be the description I would use for it. But I mean,
since we're in Europe, CIS though was the exact opposite.
Yeah, CIS was actually
it was a bloodbath.
Pound for pound, possibly the best overall region for qualifiers, I would say. You had a pretty good lineup of teams. You had Na'Vi, Gambit, Vega, and ultimately won by Empire. Generally speaking, they all looked pretty good. It was a little bit sad for Na'Vi towards the end because they kind of went down and then up and then down again. M19 was kind of the surprise team that almost...
M19 gave me a heart attack at the beginning because I'm like, shit, because they won
Yeah,
their
they
first
went like
5 games. It felt like.
Yeah, they went 5-0, I think, to start.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they won exactly 5-0, and they lost game 6. They won game 7, or they won game 7. They lost game 8, and they won game 9.
Yeah, but the middle of the CIS pack was quite good. Gambit was the team I think you chose.
Yeah.
Navi is Navi. Spirit, excuse me, is solid.
Yeah.
And then you had M19 making a surprise run, and then Vega and Empire, who are both kind of established as an international level team. So it was a strong qualifying group. And
and so then again, the 4 teams that made it out of the round robin: Vega, Empire, M19, and Spirit. It was a lot of. That was the weird thing, is it was a lot of 2-0s and 3-0s then at the end with the Empire and Spirit.
Yeah, there's only one game that wasn't. There's only one series that wasn't a sweep, which was
Vega versus M19.
Yep.
But it was they were slug matches. They were just brutal.
Oh yeah, they were just two. It was a slobber knocker.
Playing really, really well. It's not like in Europe where teams. I mean, we saw some of the longest games were in Europe, where it was just
They were throwing the game, and then they were throwing it right back and repeat for 60 minutes of whack.
Which was the one with the Queen of Pain? Was that Europe? Keep going. I'm trying to remember which. There was a game that broke a bunch of records.
Well, there were, in terms of game length, that was NP versus Planet Odd.
No, there was another one in Europe that maybe it might have been that one.
I don't know. But anyway, doesn't really matter because CIS, good region, good games, fun, and pretty good Dota. Or I shouldn't say pretty good. It was good Dota. It was definitely quality teams.
Quality Dotes.
Quality teams playing quality games and delivering quality entertainment. China. That was pretty darn competitive.
Yeah, it was. I didn't see a lot of it. I will admit that. When we were in that time zone, I was watching SEA.
Generally, the more interesting and also less laggy.
Yeah. Oh my god, it was brutal trying to watch it.
But every team, the worst teams, still went 3-6 in the group stages. And there's 3 teams that went 3-6. And just as an example, Team Max, who is one of the teams that went 3-6, they took wins off of CDEC, eHome, and Vici Gaming J. Vici Gaming J took wins off of CDEC, Vici Gaming, and FTD, FTD Club A. And FTD Club A started off looking really strong, if I recall correctly. And
just their first game where they beat CDEC, and then they lost 3 in a row.
Okay. But they won against CDEC and LGD Gaming Forever Young. So those were, even the bottom end teams were taking wins off of the kind of perceived to be upper end teams. Ultimately, we actually had a commenter snark at us about not having IG Vitality on either of our things.
That's fair.
It is fair. Like once I read that, I was like, "Oh, this dick."
I'm just right. I don't know why I'm biased against them, because like I don't dislike the team. Like Paparazzi's great. Cicada, like whenever I watch them,
it's a good team.
Cicada Dogfights is so much fun to watch.
Kind of easy to forget about.
In July is a little boring, but yeah, you don't hear about them because they're busy practicing.
Yeah.
Also, they did my biggest thing was they took 5th, 6th at Galaxy Battles. I remember that now. That's why I was like, eh.
Yeah. Ultimately, I mean, I to my credit, picked them way back before the Boston Major as a team that will qualify for the Boston Major. And every major Chinese qualifier, every qualifier for every major in China is going to have a really competitive pool. So I in my defense, I picked IG Vitality as an upper end Chinese team way before any UFOs did but shouldn't have. They did a great job, and they're going to the international and could make noise.
Really quickly, because we've hit a couple of things now. Somebody noted that, speaking of teams that made it to the international, every team that was at Zotac Cup Masters, the top 4 teams. No, that's not true anymore. Somebody said because Newbie didn't make it, but NP, Fnatic, IG Vitality, and Digital Chaos all made it.
Well, Newbie is in. They got invited.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, the top 4 did make it. Okay. Yeah. I don't know why. I was thinking about teams that like won, not teams that got invited.
Yeah.
I was thinking about quals. I was like, I didn't see Newbie there.
Between now and the last time we saw Newbie play, so
yeah,
you can get a mulligan on that, I'd say.
Fair enough. And so, I mean, even the teams that didn't make it, Danish Bears because top 5
Danish
teams
Bears
did.
They had a run.
Danish Bears didn't do horribly in Europe qualifier. I mean, okay, we just bodied everybody, and I mean, relatively they didn't do horribly. And Team Singularity
made it to that,
showed up.
They made it far along in the tournament, so
yeah,
it's about all you can really ask of them.
Yeah. So again, Zotac Cup, I'm simply bringing this up because I want to admit that I was wrong in terms of bashing Zotac Cup for being an uncompetitive event. So I am admitting I was wrong in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good.
Yeah.
You're just being a hater.
Yeah. I'm owning it. That's all.
But LGD and LGD Gaming Forever Young were the other Chinese qualifiers, if I recall correctly, as teams that would qualify. And again, it was tough to watch the actual Chinese qualifiers because they were so laggy. But it was a competitive enough group that all 3 of those Chinese qualifying teams need to be looked at as serious players heading into TI7.
100%.
Bounce over to Southeast Asia.
Pinoy Power
and TNC. You're a Filipino team, mostly. Yep. Plus, 1437 are your number 1 in Southeast Asia. Followed by, and I will brag about this, Fnatic, the team that I pegged to be strong run in Southeast Asia. I wasn't 100% committal, but I was gut feelings that I just kind of went with.
You picked them. You suggested 3rd with Faceless taking 2nd. So we were both wrong on Faceless. I'm dragging you down with me.
I had Faceless first, so
you were extra bad.
I was extra bad, but I pegged Fnatic as a top-end team, or a higher-end team. At least top-end team in Southeast Asia, higher-end team in general, based on their pure potential from the Ajit, QO, Febby, Ohio, DJ lineup. That's a strong lineup, and they showed that they can play together well in the Southeast Asia qualifiers. Took 2nd place with TNC ultimately being the winner of the group stages. They went 7-2 in the group stages, so nothing to sneeze at there. Yep. And it just looked good throughout the entire thing. That's a high upside team. And
so here's the crazy thing is Faceless or Execration would not have made the finals if Faceless had won a single, Team Faceless and Execration both went 5-4 in round robin. And so there was a tiebreaker game. That one game could have completely changed the actual.
That's very true. I actually watched that game very closely. I was splitting time between watching the qualifiers and doing the work that actually makes me money more solidly, which is writing about Conor McGregor. So I was divided attention, but I had everything put aside to watch Faceless versus Execration, which is a good game. Faceless just fought to the last man before calling GG. And not having them in the final 4 or final 5 in the 4-man tournament that ultimately decided the 2nd and 3rd place qualifiers.
Yep.
Not having them there, that changed the whole landscape. And if it was Faceless instead of Execration, you have Faceless versus Fnatic at the top of that bracket. Things probably look pretty different in that case.
Quite possibly.
Granted, Execration dropped and won their way to the end, but
yeah, it probably would have flipped. That's all.
Yeah.
Very possibly, and then you would have been good. But again, we don't know because Faceless kind of didn't show up in a lot of ways. Yeah, they went 5-4, but they
Yeah.
lost a lot of games they shouldn't
They didn't
have.
play up to their ability.
Yeah. They
And
lost at Geek Fam is the big one for me. That it's like really, like again, I'm not saying the Geek Fam is bad. They went 4-5, but
Team
it's
Faceless has beaten teams in majors. You know,
yeah.
Geek Fam is, you know, they're Geek Fam.
Yeah. So
With all due respect, granted, it's not a bad lineup. Looking over it, again, Faceless, you know, they played in majors and they've won games in majors. They should be able to beat a Geek Fam.
yeah. So again, we'll see kind of how it goes when we see, you know, these SEA teams at TI. But speaking of Pinoy Power, let's jump to America because for our third Pinoy Plus team, because you have TNC and Execration being our first two Filipino teams, and then we have Digital Chaos with the 10K powerhouse Abed, who in game 5 literally put his team on his back and said, "No, we are going to TI. I am not sitting this one out."
That was a carry. That was a carry in every possible sense of the word. He carried Digital Chaos through the playoffs. Like the rest
of them played well, but there were a couple games, like super crucial ones, where he was just like, we ain't going home today.
He was the glue that held them in.
Yep.
Like that was a very strong performance by Abed. Like if anybody doubted about whether or not he kind of stands up as a top end player, because he's still relatively new, right? Yeah, he was on
Abed's a newer. He's one of the
he was on Execration in 2016 and made the jump to NA on January 1st of this year to Team Onyx. So yeah, if there's any doubt that he is a top end player, in my mind, this run through the qualifiers cemented him as, yes, he is a good, very good player. He can hang with the best of them. No question. Agree? Disagree?
Yeah.
And yeah, he should note that qualifier first place was Team N, very, very strong group stages, but the real power player of the group stages ended up being Team Freedom, which kind of came out of nowhere.
They
both
disrupted some things.
Go ahead. Yeah, should note Team Freedom went 8-1 in the group stages. And ultimately, so did Team NP, with Team NP winning the tiebreaker to take the guaranteed spot in TI. But Team Freedom in the group stages, they beat Complexity, they beat DC, they beat NP, and they beat Planet Odd. Their one loss in the primary group stages was against Team Red. But they beat and looked damn good against every top-end North American team. Except for EG, who weren't there. So they were the stars of that. And Team NP, again, lost their first game, won the tiebreaker because they were both 8-1 and got in as a result. Now, I'll note that NP kind of looked iffy, kind of shaky at first. They had, more competitive than they should have been games against, the Complexities, the other kind of teams. But towards the end, NP looked phenomenal. They ended up having a 2-hour-long game almost with Planet Odd, which, it was a really effing long game, but it was also kind of the game that you would expect NP to kind of break apart in, maybe, arguably.
In some ways, yeah. Well, that was a weird game, though.
It was a weird game, but Team NP held it together and then won it. And then their final the game that made them 8-1, they beat DC, and they looked absolutely phenomenal in that. Like, that was a very tight, well-played game where they were just in charge and life out of DC throughout and ended up winning. And then their final game against Team Freedom, who again looked very strong, that was an exceptionally well-played game by them. So they looked very, very strong towards the end.
I'm just looking to try and see if I can find this stupid game that was so long. It was a meeple game. I remember that.
All right. No, I'll wrap.
We'll keep talking, but it was because it was a game that it went 130 something minutes. It
Jesus.
It was stupid long. Like there was in a lot of ways no reason for it to be that long in a lot of ways.
Yeah. But I'll wrap it while you look it up. So NP it took first place. Looked very strong in the round robin, but you can make a case with how people were harumphing about the use of tiebreakers since Team Freedom did beat them earlier. Some people said that NP should have been forced into the playoffs, and Team Freedom should have gotten the straight invite.
I completely disagree with that.
I can see it both ways.
I mean, I can see it both ways, but at the end, I just found it and then it went away. No.
But ultimately, Team NP is your first place. That's not unexpected. They deserve to be there, and they're a very, very good team. Digital Chaos ended up really having a strong second half of the qualifiers, and like we discussed, it was largely because of a bed. And yeah, I can't really complain about that 1-2 punch of NP and Digital Chaos getting in terms of who are the best teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think Planet Odd definitely played down, but beyond that, I agree.
And finally, South America won by Infamous. Want to say much about that?
I watched a little bit. They looked quite good.
Midas Club Elite won their way through the qualifiers and ended up making went in one of the group stages. They were a team that played, but ultimately Infamous 2-0'd SG Esports, 2-0'd Midas Club, and then 3-0'd SG Esports again to make their way through those playoffs. And yeah, that's the qualifiers in terms of results. So we'll wrap this up, and we're going to go to part 2. Agreed? You good with that?
Yep.
All right. So part 2, we're going to go over our compendium predictions. And since you are listening to this on YouTube, Google Hangouts, don't let us. So it'll sound different on SoundCloud, but you get to hear me stalling for time. So now we're in part 2. And we're going to go over how our compendium predictions shook out for TI7. Should note that once again, I went with the quote-unquote guaranteed money route, which actually worked out very well for me. While MTarget here went with the actually having cojones, making picks, playing balls to the wall, trying to get as much as possible. How many points did you ultimately get?
I haven't seen anything actually.
It hasn't actually officially updated yet, but
yeah. So I've got to go off of the manual checking method here. So Southeast Asia, I got TNC correct, and that's it. China, I got nothing correct due to positioning errors. Europe, I got Team Secret right. But I bet Gambit, not Empire, so I'm out there. And in North America, I was off on NP, so I got 1,000 points. That's it.
I got 2,500.
Yeah, you did much better than I did.
That is well, I shouldn't say it's just because of the guaranteed money route, because I bet that Planet Odd would be the qualifier and had them plugged in for first and second. Yep. I'll just pull up what my actual I'll screen share my Dota 2 client.
Sounds good.
Look good? Can you see it? Yep. Oh, and need to actually. Okay, can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, so here's my actual compendium. Again, Planet Odd didn't look too great and ended up washing out, so I didn't get any points here, but I did really well on these two because I picked Infamous, and it wasn't just a gut feeling kind of thing. After SG Esports had their run in the Kiev major, I kind of went back and looked over all the different major South American tournaments that they've competed in. Generally speaking, Infamous to get the better of SG Esports for whatever reason in a general sense. So I went with them over SG based on that. Yep. Paid off. Team Secret, that was a no-brainer. Like if I was going to do actual predictions for any of them. I would have gone with Secret and then somebody else for this one, but I went with Secret for both, and 500 points there. Team Empire. I felt like their run at a couple of the recent tournaments, particularly, I thought that they looked pretty good at Summit 7, and went with them for that. 500 points. I was a little bit scared about LGD Forever Young because they had a rough start to the group stages in China. Ultimately, again, nobody really looked immaculate because it was such a competitive field, but 500 points. And then TNC, they were more or less a no-brainer.
Yeah. Okay, so I found
2,500 points out of this.
I found the match that I was looking for, and I will go ahead and do this.
Sitter says we can talk about it later. Want to go over your?
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Now I'll pull up my quote unquote real predictions that I did for fun in our previous video. Since so we can go over that. But yeah, wrap on yours.
Yeah, my predictions were, I stand by them.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of us, we had pretty similar predictions as a whole, but
again, I knew that my Gambit prediction was a risk. I knew that my SG prediction was a risk, but because I did acknowledge Infamous at the time. And I thought that, CS would be a little bit crazier and Gambit would slip through somehow. And in South America, I just thought that the Brazilians had a slightly better shot. China, yeah, I forgot about IG Vitality, but hey, I'm very happy with these results for the most part, just overall. And yeah, obviously my Compendium predictions, hurt. My Battle Pass levels are crying, but beyond that, hey, it's always fun to do. It's not like it actually cost me any money.
Yeah. So I'm looking over I'm trying to use the search function to get into our video, and it's not easy. Gonna have to maybe come up with a new name for this whole thing. This week in Dota 2 is nice, but man, do we get buried behind the Dota Cinema fails of the week. So
yeah,
this may or may not be the last ever episode of.
If the name of the channel is This Week in Dota 2, we can always, update the names of the episode. We can change the name of the series to something else.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. We'll figure this out later, but probably should have done more research into that. Anyway, my picks were, all right, I'll do share screen again. Share screen, share, bam, bam. Okay, you can see them?
Yep.
So those are my quote unquote real predictions. They're not bad. Not bad. Again, Planet Odd didn't work out so well. These ones were kind of, pick them and stick them. There wasn't really much nuance there, and I got them both right. I had Fnatic as a team that is either achieving up to its potential or overachieving, depending on how you look at it, given how little they actually played together. But ultimately, I expected them to have a good run. They did. Faceless, would have blown up my entire SEA predictions anyway. But good group. And out of LGD wasn't exactly a bold pick, but ultimately shook out well. And yeah, as we discussed, IG Vitality kind of we should have picked them.
Yeah, they snuck up on us. They did probably about as well as they should have.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that, come on. Okay. They're a team that has made it to major events in the past, particularly. They made it to both Kiev and they made it to Boston. They did make it to Kiev as well, right?
Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah. So they're a team we should expect them to. I kind of got a little bit maybe trigger happy on VG Gaming J in retrospect because I had them as
the third but place. I think we both have been a little bit blinded by VGJ.
Yeah, they're a fun team, and I mean, what can I say? Yeah, IG Vitality did kind of slip past us there. So, may as well kind of put a cap on that as part 2. So moving over to part 3, where I'm gonna ask him some questions and just let him run with it. And okay, so part 3. I'm gonna just give him questions. What did he think? What would he do? Etc. Etc. And just let MTarget here have a stage to give his thoughts. So we had in North America and Europe, Planet Dog and Team Freedom both had really surprisingly good runs.
Yep.
Should this have been a surprise, though? Should it have been surprisingly good runs? Was this foreseeable?
Freedom. Yes, it was definitely foreseeable. I do not think that Freedom was a surprise. We talked about it last time that they were good middle of the pack. I think that Planet Odd underperformed just enough that it gave Freedom that opportunity to just kind of jump up and get, right in the business. And then it shook back out, and Digital Chaos, kind of landed just above them, and that works. Planet Dog, I think they punched above their weight class a little bit, and Europe was not looking great.
Yeah, they definitely had some help from the Danish Bears and Mouse Sports kinds of teams.
Yeah,
like those. As we saw in my
I mean, in the grand finals with Planet Dog versus I just closed that tab.
My prediction,
the grand final series between Planet Dog and Mouse Sports was a long one.
Yeah, that was a competitive one, and again, Mouse Sports probably should have. Mouse Sports definitely underachieved relative to what it was capable of, but so did pretty much all the different European teams. Yeah, I mean, should we be surprised about them?
I mean, if you're asking me, I'm torn on Planet Dog. For a lot of reasons. I'll be upfront. I'm not a fan of the fact that they straight up stole another company's logo. So, and then the way that the team kind of has handled itself on Twitter and elsewhere is a little bit iffy.
Yeah,
but again, I mean, they just kicked their manager right after they qualified. Like, who does that?
It does feel a little bit
power grabby.
Not necessarily power grabby, but just like they're just going out there double deucing everybody.
Yeah, kind of.
Which, from the combat sports perspective, it's better to have you feeling bad about them than feeling nothing.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're invested in
see them as that underdog wonder kid. They're like, look at them, they got dropped by their sponsor. I believe the statement was that they left, but whatever. And they made the run through open qualifiers and in. And it's like, did you see open qualifiers? Who else was going to go in? Like, really, let's be honest here. The team had a slot ready for them. So
basically.
But with that said, I don't want to discount them too much, but I still don't think that that Planet Dog will do well at TI. I've talked to a lot of people who see them placing no higher than 14th.
Yeah. I mean, they got a lot of help in the European qualifiers, so ultimately see.
And then Freedom, again, I think Freedom ended up right about where they should have. Again, punching a little bit above their weight class would have gotten them in. If they had just taken that one game off of NP, bam, they're at TI. That's going to sting. I can guarantee you that is going to cause some friction within that team, which sucks because I think that team could have been great, if they had another month. But that team will probably fall apart.
So, speaking of tiebreakers, again, a lot of people were complaining about it, and I wanted your thoughts. And for anybody who didn't notice, so round robin, 10 teams, everybody plays each other once. But ultimately, the way it worked was if you beat the other team, it didn't matter. As an example, again, Team NP and Team Freedom both went 8-1. Team Freedom actually beat through. They still had to play a tiebreaker. And some people are saying, the results should stand for themselves.
Okay, but if we're going to talk about the results standing for themselves here, I'm going to go ahead and cut you off and climb up on my soapbox here.
Go for it.
Team Freedom lost to Red. Like, come on. Don't give me this. Like, if you're going to argue that, who they beat should matter, come on. Yes, they did beat NP. Yes,
they beat NP, Planet Odd, Complexity, and
Team Freedom went flawless in groups in the best of 1 group stage compared to the best of 3 playoff stage. Again, do I understand tournaments where they use a tiebreaker system where they go, okay, let's look at the head-to-head. If you got 2 teams that are 8-1, and okay, let's look at the head-to-head. Okay, this team beat this team. Congratulations, you win. If that's the rules of the tournament, fine. In this tournament, it was, we're going to look at your record. If you are tied, you simply play against each other, which led to a lot of extra tiebreakers. And I think it was really ridiculous with the 4th, 5th place thing just going on and on and on in NA. They were playing at 4 a.m. one day.
Yeah, I should note that Complexity, Digital Chaos, and W4
Wheel Whistling.
They all went 5-4 and ultimately had to play a lengthy series of tiebreakers. They had to round robin each other 3 times.
3 times because it went 1-1-1 the first round, and so they had to throw that one out.
Yeah.
DC and Complexity both went 2-1, and Wheelwreck went 1-3 because of that.
DC ended up going on Wheelwreck while Whistling dropped out. And it was just a lot of extra Dota.
I do think that all of these tiebreakers definitely compressed things and took a already compressed qualifier schedule and made it a little bit too dense and just added there was way too much Dota going on. But as to the question, I think that it is a perfectly reasonable set of rules that were in place well before this tournament started, and I have no problem with it. It sucks, but it sucks less than we're going to take your average time of your games for winning, and we're going to use that. I don't want to see that ever again. But it was a reasonable
it's totally
ruling based on results. Again, would I have been mad if it was head-to-head? I don't like seeing head-to-head for just hey, you just magically get a slot to TI because of your results there, unless you are clearly ahead of everybody else, like TNC, Secret, etc. So, I'll take all results here with a touch of a grain of salt. But again, at the end of the day, the 18 teams that I see going to TI, I am happy with.
Yeah.
With
ultimately
some minor caveats.
And again, this is your segment, more or less. But I will say that ultimately, the fact, who's the better team, objectively speaking? Who's the better body of work? Who has the higher upside at TI7 between NP and Freedom?
NP. You would have to argue so hard and manufacture evidence to prove that Freedom is better than NP.
Yeah, basically.
They won a best of 1 against them.
Yeah,
that's ultimately best of 1 against them. So they're 1-1 in a best of 3 right now. Congratulations, online tournament. Let's look at their LAN results here. Oh wait, this Freedom has not competed online. Or on LAN, excuse me.
Yeah. That's ultimately what passes my sniff test. The better team gets through. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, if we go with the results of, which team beat which team, then, again, sniff test is a little bit funkier, but I would always rather see one more game get played for a tiebreaker than go to, let's check this arbitrary thing. Again, I think that out of all of the arbitraries, the head-to-head matchup is the best option. Yeah. But I would much rather see a tiebreaker, especially in a smaller round robin like this. If we're talking the end of a league season in NHL, go to head-to-head. You've got a massive body of work there. So. All
right, so good to move on to the next question?
Yes.
Who's the breakout star of this?
Player or team?
Player.
Oh, God. Singular player. A piece of me wants to say Abed because he was so good, but I don't know if I can call this his breakout performance because arguably his time on Execration is his breakout performance because he was so damn good there. Also, NP definitely no, they did not have a breakout player there, so I'm throwing them out.
Good.
They were a solid unit. They looked very clean.
Yeah.
No, because Fnatic's a bunch of known guys. Yeah, I mean, I guess if I've got to pick one, out of these teams that, all right, I gotta quit Dota. No more looking at predictions. This dude keeps inviting me. I can't play right now. Like Team Secret, they looked good. They looked solid. Congratulations. Planet Dog. Yeah, I don't know. Kaiser's good, but Planet Dog did not have a oh my god amazing player. Team Empire, again, they looked very good, but I don't think that they, necessarily had a breakout player.
I think
I love everybody. Everybody on TNC has highlight reel footage from this event.
Yeah.
So, but again, I think at the end of the day, Abed had the most clutch plays. He did have more footage to comb through though, because as I'm thinking about it, Fada also was very clutch.
Yeah, he was.
And there was that one game that I cast with MSS where MSS got huge. But yeah, I think that's what I'm going to go with is Abed just because of the body of work that is presented for this event.
Yeah, I think Abed is the way to go, but you, like you said, can make a case for Fada. I think Maposha and Ghostic were both Empire.
They were very good, yes. But like FN also was great on that team too. So
yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, Chappie, you're a great player, but
I mean, not everybody is going to be the MVP.
It was true.
Doesn't mean he was bad.
Yep.
Yeah. So next up, Team NP. How you feeling about them at this point? Because there's kind of a tale of two teams between the normal NP, but then the really good theoretical NP towards the end of the qualifiers.
And that's my concern. Is which NP are we going to see at TI? If we get this 8-1 NP, they could just go off at TI, which would be amazing.
They could,
but I'm scared that they might overthink.
It's possible. We've seen very good NP. We've seen very not that great NP.
Yep.
So
it's unfortunately that simple. It's just it's too much of a coin flip, and they overthink things sometimes, which is what breaks it down.
Okay. Last question. You are Gabe Newell.
Okay.
You personally, once again, forgot to send in the paperwork for Execration to attend a Valve event. You are now tasked with picking one team to replace the team that you screwed out of a massive financial opportunity. You screwed them, and now you get to give it to another team of your choosing. Who do you send to TI?
Oh my god. Do I have to pick somebody from SEA?
No.
Whew. You just made my job so much harder.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you should have sent in the fucking paperwork, man.
Yeah, I should have sent in the fucking paperwork. Oh god, who do I send?
And that's what Execration claimed happened in the Boston Major, I should say.
Yes, I believe their exact words were Gabe Newell forgot to send in the paperwork too. Not just like Valve forgot, but like they singled him out.
And they didn't get to attend the Boston Major, which is very sad.
Yeah.
They earned their spot, they should have been there, etc. But ultimately got replaced by LGD.
Okay. If they had not just shit the bed, I would have said Planet Odd. If it was a little bit closer, I would have said Planet Odd. I would have said they took second at TI last year. We can still make a story out of it. We can still make it work. Give it to Planet Odd. But they shit the bed so hard, I don't know if I could give it to them.
They did kind of shit the bed.
Look at Europe. Wait, no, I know who I would give it to. Let me. Okay. Where's the? Here we go. I would give it to. Actually, maybe I don't, because they did have misery. So I'm gonna tangent us here just a little bit. There are now only 4 players who have been to all TIs as a player.
Yes.
Universe, Kuroki, Puppy, and DDC. Again, assuming they all make it to the event this upcoming one. So
Ice, Dendi,
MMY, Xiaowei, Lanham, Misery, and How.
Yeah, all of them ended up not going for whatever reason.
So, well, a lot of them got knocked out.
Yeah.
In this, and so that's what I'm thinking is I would look at these non-returning veterans teams and go, okay, which team do I like the best, and pick one of those.
Is Chuan part of that group?
No, Chuan missed an event.
Okay.
I want to say he missed like TI 1 or 2.
Well, no, he won 2.
No. Chuan, he coached an event, so he's no longer a player at all of them. I forget which one he coached, but Chuan technically.
Now we're getting really tangential.
Yeah. So let me. Chuan. First way to see. Because there's TI 14, TI 15 he didn't go to.
Okay.
Or did he just do horribly?
Actually, yeah, he did horribly. Yeah, still with Invictus, right?
Yeah.
And they kind of melted it. They just melted.
Yeah, they just didn't go to TI 1.
Okay.
Because they won TI 2. They took 5th, 6th TI 3. He took 7th, 8th TI 4. Took 9th, 12th TI 5. And TI 6, they took 9th, 12th. So Chuan is he's too late to the party. He missed the first one.
Okay. Yeah.
But yes, I would if I was Gabe, I would do that. I would go and I would pick up, Ice, Misery, How, Xiaowei, grab one of those teams and just say, go. Give me 5.
Give me one. Give me one team.
The problem is the 2 teams that I really liked, Faceless and Planet Odd, who both had amazing stories, both shit the bed.
They did.
God, it makes it so hard. Navi, screw it. Just give me the numbers. Give me the fans. Just give me their cop-out answer. Navi. If I'm Gabe Newell, Navi. Because Navi are just magic like that anyways.
I honestly, that's a reasonable way to look at it. I mean, who's going to drive viewership? Who's going to add more value to potential sponsors? Who's more likely to get you a cushier network deal if you're looking to sell this to TV channels over in Russia?
Yep.
Yeah, the answer is Navi. So, speaking purely competitively, then, who do you think?
Purely competitively?
Yeah.
Who would I invite? Probably another. I don't want to say another Chinese team because I feel like there are already.
There's plenty of Chinese representation in there already.
Yeah.
You could really throw a curveball and say, "Hey guys, the 5 guys from last year's Wings team."
No, because I think one of them made it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I forget which team he's on. I think he's on IG Vitality. But yeah, okay. I mean, if maybe I don't remember. I just remember seeing that they are all on teams. But if they weren't, yeah, totally.
Okay.
If not that, again, I like the idea of Planet Odd because it is still the same roster that took second, or almost the same roster.
Yeah,
give me that team. Because they added Moon, obviously, but
okay.
I like that story. Again, I also like the story of Faceless going. That's the thing that hurts me the most is that I love TNC's story and I love Faceless's story. Because TNC is this great team that I just root for. And then you got Faceless where it's literally Blacks and Ice's like all of their money that they just put together to make this team happen.
Yeah.
Early on Ice said, if we don't win, I don't eat.
Yep.
I mean, that's a great story. So,
also should note that Dream League is coming up. So true. If if
okay, fine. Winner of Dream League. If the winner of Dream League hasn't already been invited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
But Vega and Planet Otter both in there.
Yeah, sure.
They could win. The other two teams involved in the finals for that are Secret and Liquid. Liquid, again, both of them have already qualified. Liquid got a direct invite. Secret is your European qualifier, or first place European qualifier. So either of them. Clutch Gamers are in the MDL, along with Vici Gaming. So those two teams, if they end up making a strong run, could hypothetically get a check, and also maybe get penciled in as the last-minute replacement, assuming they can get visas. Chuan constantly lamented that during his when he was still in the in his prime, openly discussed retirement because of the frustration of travel. It's just not easy.
Give it to Freedom. Screw it. There we go. Just give it to Freedom. Give us another American team. They don't deserve it, but give it to Freedom.
Okay.
But there.
Yeah. Final answer, Freedom?
Yeah, sure, why not?
All right, so
this is why I'm not game cool.
Do we want to have you rap about other stuff afterwards, or are we going to put a cap on this show?
I've got really just one last thing. We mentioned it earlier. There was that super long game, broke a bunch of records. It was Team Empire versus Vega Squadron.
Okay.
Really short answer, or short version is it was a stupidly close game, sort of. In a lot of ways, not really. But Empire was
finish. Okay, we're gonna do a part 4 then.
Okay,
because I have another thing to discuss.
Okay.
But so part 4, sound effects go here. Okay, part 4. Keep going.
Okay. So all right, so we got Empire versus Vega. Game 1 went Empire's in 49 minutes, and then game 2 went on for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I was watching the Moonduck stream. Nahaz was losing his mind because it was so boring. But actually, at one point, he started getting interested again when he realized that a bunch of records could possibly be broken, and indeed they were. Aloha Dance set the record for the most last hits as a Weaver, and G set the record for the most last hits as a Queen of Pain with 2.4 thousand last hits, which also is the record for overall last hits, beating Illidan's last hits of 2,000 exactly in the 3-hour ridiculousness that was that 3-hour game forever ago. Also, this entire game only had 90 kills, and 20 of those happened in the last 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, it was
a long, slow, painful game.
All of that sounds boring.
It was interesting to look at, if you look at Dota Buff and you look at the graphs and the maps where it shows the timer, where you have a couple fights and then you got these there's from an hour to 2 hours almost exactly. The only person that died, from an hour 1 hour 53 seconds, so it's 60.53 exactly, until 2 hours and 11 seconds. The only people to die are LC twice, 45 minutes apart, and Rubik once right at that first fight at the beginning for Vega. On the other side, we have Meepo, Clockwork, Spirit Breaker, Meepo, Veno, Nature's Prophet, and then Clockwork again. Until then that fight. So literally in that entire hour-long segment, there was just a tiny little bit of where there was any actual combat. And a lot of it was just simply waiting for buyback timers to come off cooldown, or getting money back, or waiting for Roshan to come back up. That was it.
And that kind of goes into what I was going to discuss, which is the general game length. So that's a topic I've kind of discussed previously in a few different episodes, but I feel like the qualifiers, particularly with the Western qualifiers more so, which goes against the stereotype of long boring Chinese Dota.
Remember when the Chinese teams first came to the West, when they first played Western teams didn't know what to do.
Yeah,
because Chinese teams just fought. They didn't farm, and all the American teams are going, guys, it's not 30 minutes yet. What are you doing? And the Chinese teams are like, screw you, I'm killing things.
Yeah, that always has been a funny stereotype in my mind because, like you said, Chinese teams got introduced basically as the kick down your door and kill your entire family team,
and then they slowed down.
They slowed down, but then for TI4, New B wins and Vichy Gaming is second place. And how do they get it? By kicking down your door and killing your whole family.
Yep.
So there's more history of angry, hyper aggressive Chinese Dota than 4 Protect 1. Yeah, that.
Yeah, but Team DK ruined it for everyone.
Well, Invictus Gaming did too. It was all in, but that TI2 with TI2 with IG winning and LGD was like top 4, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that year of Chinese Dota has kind of like, for whatever reason, lingered really hard. But anyway, so game length. The game length was just genuinely out of control.
It definitely felt longer. I'd like to look at the actual statistics, like actually look at like the parsing of it and everything, but I don't have the tools in front of me, and the websites that can do it are just super laggy when you try and process all that because of all of the data.
Yeah. There's a lot of data there, but just
right after that,
just looking strictly at North America.
Yeah.
We had a lot of hour-long games, or way more than that. Day 1, we had one Odd versus Wheel, 59 minutes. From there,
hang on one second. Let me. If we're gonna do this, I'll actually pull up the actual.
But I mean, yeah, so ultimately we saw a lot of games get artificially dragged out because
teams were worried.
Teams were worried, and I forget which game it was, but I think it was towards the tail end of the Chinese qualifiers. I think it was one of the LGDs, and they had like 4 people dead, and they were pushing, and they had the mid racks down, and then they had it right there, and they instead go for racks because they know that that's safer, and they know that they're already in the lead, and they know Roshan is spawning in a couple minutes. So we saw the game lengths just get really, really just brutally, artificially dragged out. Just waiting again and again. Even with a relatively straightforward game, and yeah, I got it. Even with a relatively straightforward game that could have ended in 30 minutes, we'll see it go for 45 minutes just because, they'll wait for a buyback to come off a cooldown. They'll wait for Roshan to come back up. They'll wait for whatever. They'll wait to finish that next item. We saw a great deal of reluctance to just end the game then and there. And that's not to say we didn't get, some half-hour-long games, but we got a lot of games just artificially dragged out, and we did get a number of games that just ended up going well over an hour. Yeah. It's not good.
So I sent him a link from dotabuff.com. You can go to esports, click on league, click on the international. So it's specifically what's happened at international so far, not including opens. And then you can go to filtered by time. And I just did. I did games that went over 50 minutes. And we have 70 games that went over 50 minutes. Now, some of those games went 50 minutes and 1 second. One of those games went 2 hours and 20. But that's what's going on. Knoxville, a stats guy who runs Dota.com, he tweeted after the Empire Vega game that was so long. First, he tweeted that it was 356 million megabytes.
That's a lot of megabytes.
Either that or he's tweeted that it was 356 megabytes, one of the two. I don't know which, but either way, it's big either way. And then followed with, and this is his statistic. I have not fact-checked his statistic, but he tends to be pretty good about his stats.
Yeah.
Only
He's a reputable source.
Yes. Only 1,348 of the 32,391, or 4.16% of pro games have gone beyond the 60-minute mark, and only 31 of them, or 0.09% of them, go past 90 minutes. For those interested in 7.x, it is 161 of 3,362, or 4.78, that are 60 minutes plus, and 5 or of all of them, or 0.15%, that go 90 minutes.
Interesting.
So it's not as high of a number as we would have expected, but again, that's over 60. That's not over 50. That's not over 40.
That's true.
but over 60, which I think 60 minutes is an acceptable mark to measure from.
Yeah. Just in general, if you're Valve, you are 100% wanting a game to be a half hour long done, because
45.
No, if you're Valve, you want it a half hour, because again, Valve, every indication from all these patches is that Valve is trying to shorten games, and with E-League doing very well, you have to figure that they're looking to turn this into a more television-friendly game. Right now, we have League of Legends kind of establishing their own streaming app with MLB AM.
Yep.
And that's because, League of Legends and MOBAs in general aren't really friendly to potential network partners, because the game length varies so wildly. The reason that the 3 games that we've seen featured on E-League are Counter-Strike, Street Fighter V, and Overwatch are because those games, and we got Injustice coming up. Those games you can predict and fit those in pretty comfortably into a regular TV schedule.
I think personally, if I were a television guy and I could say, okay, I want to do Dota. I want one match to take up 45 minutes. That's 15 minutes of commentary and 45 minutes of 15 minutes of drafting and 45 minutes of gameplay for exactly 1 hour. That is the maximum that I am willing to let it go.
Yeah.
Or ideally, you give me 50 minutes. You do 15 minutes and then a 35-minute game, which, again, we're getting to your 30 minutes. And I have, again, 15-minute draft phase. We have 5 minutes before the match starts where we can talk about it and maybe run a couple ads and whatever else. 5 minutes or 15 minutes of drafting. Again, you can do a little bit of ad plugging during that if you're you know how to do ads correctly, like football does. European and not American.
I should say E-League has a very quality product in terms of making it feel authentic as an esport and making it feel like an actual legitimate TV product.
Yeah. And then give me that 30 to 35-minute game. Again, maybe 40. You can simply shave a couple minutes off of your 5-minute wrap. And then boom, you get your hour right there. You give me an hour for a game. Then you give me 30 minutes of segment space after that hour. And then you give me another game. And I got a best of 2 right there that takes a 3-hour slot, and I'm perfect.
Okay. I mean, that's reasonable, but it's worth noting that the sole redeeming factor of television in general right now, outside of, a few, The Walking Dead's, Game of Thrones, the backbone to most TV networks is live sports. It's not sports, it's live sports.
True, very true.
E-League, obviously, a great deal of it is pre-recorded.
Is it though?
At least it used to be.
Because E-League, their Counter-Strike stuff is live. I know that, and their Street Fighter stuff is like half live, half not. That was a little bit weird.
Yeah, either way, a great deal of it, or at least a major portion of it, is pre-recorded. But there is still a live component that ultimately is like the centerpiece. The finals are going to be live. And if you're TBS, I mean, would it be unusual if a best of 5 series of Dota 2 goes 4 hours? No, not.
That's super easy.
It's a really safe expectation that it would go about that long. Just in terms of the game, never mind fitting commercials, never mind fitting commentating, et cetera, all in there.
That's easily 5 to 6 hours.
Yeah. Are you going to want to dedicate a quarter of a day to one series of Dota 2? No.
Probably not.
No.
And that's where the best of 2s and the best of 3s are going to come in for if you want to try and televise Dota.
I would say that the single elimination major format is probably a direct result of that. And I mean, granted, you can actually probably make a pretty TV friendly product of Dota 2 if you cut out those 5 minutes of waiting for Roche to respawn, cut out that the blocks of waiting that just inevitably happen in a game of Dota 2. You could probably
especially
make
the longer ones,
a fairly streamlined product out of that. But
then you'd have to do an edited stream, and then at that point, why bother?
You want sports to be if you're a TV network, you want your sports to be live. There's not really any market for tape delayed sports.
Unless you're the Olympics, and even then, I disagree with tape delays.
Even then, I mean, NBC got raked over the coals for that.
I will rake over the coals every day.
I actually have been on 3 different. For the most recent Olympics last year, 2016 Summer Olympics, I was here in Canada. CBC is the broadcaster. They had the most no-nonsense, well streamlined. It was just a very nice experience in terms of I could watch whatever I want. I watched all the judo I could handle. Judo is so intense, man.
Oh, judo's awesome. Don't get me, like I love it, but So again,
judo. But yeah, ultimately, you want a live product. You want a consistent live product that fits into an otherwise normal TV schedule, and you're not getting that out of Dota 2 right now. Not even getting close to it out of Dota 2 right now, and I still think that the idea for the 7.0 and then 06 and et cetera patches have been to get that kind of streamlined product that's TV friendly, and they are not anywhere close.
Yeah, no, I would be interested. Actually,
I put a nice head wiggle on that.
Yeah, for those of us who aren't, or for those that are not watching it. Let me check.
To stress how not close they are, I did a head shake for each syllable. And yeah, they're not close. You can't, like I said, if you are a TV network, you do not want to dedicate 1/4 of your entire day to one series of Dota 2. You just don't want to. And they're almost certainly not going to change this ahead of the international, because it would massively change the game if you did something like, say, make it so you only get 1 buyback per game. That would shorten games in a huge way.
They wouldn't necessarily shorten them, but it would cut a lot of the longer games.
It would at the very least it would prune down super long games, but you wouldn't want to do that right now. Like
I can't imagine that, and I know so many Dota people who would quit Dota immediately.
Yeah, they shouldn't do that, because that would compromise the integrity of the game as it stands right now if they did that ahead of the international.
Yeah, no, I think that if they're trying to do stuff like that, I think that they will be able to do it over time. I think that Valve will have to find the right, tools and balances. But I think between talents, the really easy way to do it is make it so when you hit level 25, you get some amazing stuff for pushing and fighting and aggression, but you very rarely get talents at 25 that provide you any sort of defensive capabilities.
Yeah. That would also work. Like I said, the things that ultimately make you wait a really long time are Roshan buybacks. They also like finishing items, but they kind of already do that by increasing how many creeps spawn. And also, you get more gold.
How much they pay out, yeah.
Yeah, you get more gold per kill as the game goes on. So that kind of solves that. But, if you do something like I said, making only 1 buyback a game, that would probably well.
Yeah, definitely.
Or if you just make it, or if you just weaken buildings. Like I said, if you make it so you can just like smash down a building really fast towards the end. Like if they like make buildings strong in the early game and then slowly fade over time, that might do something. There are options. Ultimately, I'm not a game designer.
Later, but again, that's what I predict is that if we see Valve trying to cut things tighter again, then yeah, we can talk about it more. But otherwise, who knows? Maybe they decide not to do that. Maybe they decide to just.
Yeah, like I said, League of Legends is working with MLBAM. That is Major League Baseball Advanced Media. They are the foremost. They are the foremost
sports
authority, not just sports.
Well, that is true. That is true.
Because they establish streaming services, like subscription-based streaming services for a number of different outfits. If I recall correctly, they have, again, it's Major League Baseball Advanced Media. They have the MLB streaming service. I believe that UFC Fight Pass works off of their infrastructure. I'm not sure if they necessarily worked with it. They worked with WWE. WWE Network. So those are all live,
Yep.
They also, I think, did HBO Go.
I think they provided infrastructure for. I don't think HBO Go uses them directly.
Okay. Pulling up
I have
the
a friend who
Wikipedia
used to
page.
work for MLBAM. So.
Oh, neat. Okay, so it has also provided back-end infrastructure for WWE Network, Watch ESPN, ESPN3, HBO Now, and PGA Tour. And yeah, they've worked with a lot of major outfits, and that's an investment on the part of Riot. Like they have big hopes for that, and that's kind of also an indictment about what they think of League as a television property, that they would again, esports is getting on TV. The like business reports have been generally positive, both in terms of esports being a valuable tool in terms of securing younger viewers. There was a mean median age chart for every sport, and like the median age of esports viewers was like 30. The next lowest was MMA, and that was at like 43, I think.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah. So in terms of like actually getting young people to watch TV, which is killing conventional media, which is killing conventional media in general, but TV especially, like that. There's a lot to like of esports moving forward.
Yeah. So again, if we see some more Dota tweaks, would definitely not be surprised if that was why.
The League is going completely, forget TV. We are making our own dedicated streaming service. Says that they don't feel like the game can be comfortably made to be a conventional TV media property. Yep. That's big. So we'll see. It feels to me like I said, a part of Dota 2, or a major part of the Dota 2 updates has been to make it a more snowbally game, where you can get a lead, you will continue getting that lead, it will be a greater lead, and you can hypothetically end games faster. Hasn't really been working out that way. At the very least, it hasn't been working out that way as much as they would like. So we'll see. Anything else?
I'm also
all right. So we're done. Like, comment, subscribe. We are now on a dedicated This Week Dota 2 YouTube channel, which may or may not keep that name. Either way, like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and on YouTube, because we are going to be bringing you later. At the very least, me, probably hopefully we will bring you more Compendium Predictions. I think something that would be valuable would be a guide on fantasy, how to use the fantasy cards.
Yep.
Yeah, so we bring you that kind of stuff, and on top of that, going forward past the international, we'll be talking about Dota 2 tournaments. So, like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at Rondina, at MTarget product, and yeah, that's Dota 2 this week. We'll be back probably next week.
Soon.
So see ya.